So before we begin, I'd like to do an acknowledgement of country. The University of Newcastle acknowledges the traditional custodians of the lands within our footprint areas, the Awabakal, Darkinjung, Biripi, Worimi, Wonnarua and Eora nations. We also pay respect to the wisdom of our elders, past, present and emerging. We also extend that respect to other Aboriginal or Torres Strait Islander people. So thank you for joining me today. My name's Jessica Birchall and I'm one of 4 research liaison librarians. So the research liaison librarians provide support to postgrad students and staff with any research related questions. Each research liaison librarian supports different schools. So I support mainly medicine, School of Psychology, medicine and public health and biomedical sciences and pharmacy. I'm joined today by fellow research liaison librarian Nicole Full-Brown, who provides support to School of Health Sciences, Nursing and Midwifery, and Maths and Physical Sciences. So today, Nicole and I will be taking you through how to search in Ovid, a database platform, using Medline as our demo database for today. So we are also joined today by Jennifer Go, who's a teaching liaison librarian. So Jennifer will be monitoring the chat today. So if you have any questions while we're presenting, pop them in the chat and Jennifer will help you out. And if we have any time at the end, we'll answer some of those extra questions that you might have. So to begin with, I'm going to share my screen and take you to the library homepage. So today we're going to be looking at the Ovid database platform. So to get to the Ovid database platform, while studying or working off campus, it's important to go, if you want to access any of the university's resources, the databases, ebooks, that type of thing, it's important that you go through the library page. The reason why we suggest that is because it takes you through to our single sign-on. It has easy proxy in the link, so it takes you through to the database or resource that the university subscribes to. So you'll be able to have access to that resource. So to get to the Ovid platform, just on the library homepage, we go to databases by title, which brings up an A to Z list of all the databases that we subscribe to. So Ovid, we can look for that in O, or we can enter in Ovid in the search field at the top. So we can see that comes up there. Just going to open that one up. So Ovid is a platform that supports many different databases. They're mainly medical. There's some social work aspects in there too, but they're mainly medical. So the 3 of the most used or the most popular of the database platforms within Ovid are Medline, Embase and PsycInfo, and they all support different aspects of medicine. So Medline looks at biomedicine, healthcare, health sciences, nursing and midwifery. Embase looks at biomedicine and pharmaceuticals, and PsycInfo looks at psychological, social, behavioural and health sciences. So if you're doing something like a systematic review or any type of sort of that complex assignment, it's not unusual for you to be searching across multiple databases. So maybe searching across all those 3 to get those sort of different aspects of the topic that you're searching for. So you can get to, as we're using Medline today, so you can get to Medline 2 ways. You can select the Ovid platform and select Medline within this list here. But you can also go back to that A to Z databases page and enter in your search term of Medline or Embase or PsycInfo and get to the database that way as well. So there's 2 different ways to get to your particular database that you want to look into. Okay, so we can see across the top that there are a few different ways to search in Ovid. So we've got basic, multi-field, and advanced search. So I'm going to take you through a quick demo of basic and multi-field search. We can see here that the advanced search is in bold. So that's the default, that's the platform that Ovid takes you to at the beginning. So if you want to use basic or multi-field, you have to select those platform. So basic search is a good tool to use when you're doing those sort of quick introductory searches. Those first searches when you're looking into your research topic and trying to get some background information or looking for more keywords for a different type of search. You'll see the difference between the three types of searching is about where the database searches for your particular terms that you've entered. So basic search looks across all the fields of a particular record. So a journal article that you're looking for, it has different fields to search into, your title, abstract, subject headings, keywords. Sorry, my screen was doing something weird. So it looks across all the fields. Multi-field, you get a little bit more specific and you can select where you want your search fields to be looked at when you're doing your searching. And advanced search allows you to make that same choice as well. When you're doing an advanced search, particularly a really big search strategy, the advice that we will give you is to use a combination of keywords and subject headings. So keywords will search across, your title and abstract, and keywords provided by the publisher or the author. The subject headings if you enter in a subject heading as a search term, it will only look for that specific subject heading that has been indexed to that article by the Ovid database. So you need to be really accurate, and there can be problems with subject headings being indexed particular articles. That's why we suggest you have a combination of the two. That way your search is going to be covered. So what you'll see in basic search is that subject heading and keywords are not a thing. It just looks for your particular search term. But it also looks for, you can see this box is ticked here. It also includes related terms or synonyms that it thinks relates to any of the search terms that you've entered. So I'm going to enter in diabetes and hit search. So we can see here it's got in brackets, it's included the related terms. We can see it's the number of search results, and our search result list is below. So if we start to look at the particular records of the articles, like most databases, it highlights the search terms that you've used. So in yellow is our diabetes. What's highlighted in purple is the related terms that Ovid has decided this relates to diabetes. So I'm going to bring this one across as well. I'm going to go to the complete reference of the record. So this is going to bring up the complete record of this particular article. And this is where you can see it's looked for diabetes across the title, the subject headings, and the abstract. So that's what I mean when I say that it searches across all fields. So I really recommend that if you're just starting out using this database, I recommend entering in each term one by one. Try not to do like a search query, just the one long line. If you do it term by term, I'm going to enter in children and hit search. You can see that it brings your results across line by line, so you can see what kind of results you're bringing in for each particular term. So once you get a little bit more confident and familiar with the terms and the search fields that are used in the database, by all means, you know, you can enter in those terms in the one line and hit search. But just when you're beginning out, do it term by term. It kind of, the Ovid database sets everything out sort of quite clearly, so you can see the results that are being brought across. So we can see here, line 3 is diabetes and children, and that's our search results number. So we can see here that we've got a section called limits. You need to hit the drop down, the expand button in order to see the limits. So if you want to limit your particular search, you can do that using this particular panel here. There's some of the basic ones at the top. So if you want to limit something that's only in English, full text, you can select the year type. So if you want to only go from 2015 to current, you can also limit by core clinical journals. So these are 119 English language journals that are considered to be immediate interest to practicing physicians. So sometimes in assignments, you'll be asked to find information that's only in those core clinical journals. So that's a way that you can limit that search. So if you want to limit your search by those two things, you just select what you want and select the line that you want the search, that you want the limits to apply to, hit search. And we can see it's brought that last search result right down to 210. So that's a way that you can add some limits. There's also additional limits. So this will take you to another page. And this is where you can get a bit more detailed. You can limit by things like age groups, publication types. Just tend to exercise using limits, use it with a little bit of caution. The limits are a little bit like subject headings in that sometimes they can be indexed or decided incorrectly. So if you add a particular limit to a search and find that it cuts it down too much, you might want to think about removing it and finding another way that you can limit your search. So if we just go back, so that's our basic search. We go to multi-field search. We can see already that the panel looks slightly different. You can also see that it brings across our search history from the previous search we've done. So just be wary of that. It does tell you where, like the type of search that you've done. We can see that where I've added the limit, it's allocated it as an advanced search. I think because that's the limits are sort of a default in the advanced search, but in the other search categories, it's hidden. So if you apply a limit to it, it includes it in the advanced search category. So we can see here the multi-field search allows us to select where we want our search terms to be looked for in our particular journal articles, the metadata records. So we can see here that the default is all fields, which is the same as basic search. So if I enter in our Old Faithful diabetes and leave it as all fields and hit search, we can see here, you can see that this, one of the searches has disappeared. Once it gets higher than 4, just need to hit expand and all your searches will come up. So we can see here, I did diabetes in all fields, and we can see that it's given us the little addition at the end, .af. So that's what we call a search field. That's the code, the language that Ovid adds to your search term to make it search in all fields. So obviously that stands for all fields. If I want to change where I change the field where I want it to look into, again, I'll select diabetes. And this is a great way for you to sort of focus your search. So if you want a particular search term to be the focus of your article, it's best to only look in your title and abstract as sort of a guide, because if that particular term is in the title or abstract, it's a safe assumption that it's the focus of the article. So for here, I'm going to select abstract and hit search. And we can see here, it's now brought across diabetes.ab, which stands for abstract. So it's going to have those codes for all the different fields. And you can also search for more in the search fields, and Nicole will take you through that in advanced search. So this is just another way for you to, again, I'd still probably use this for a bit of a basic search, but you can see that it's kind of focusing a little bit more because it's allowing you to select where you want to search for those particular terms. Again, the limits have been hidden. We hit the drop down, we can see those same limits as before. So again, you can make the same selection and do the limit a particular search line. And again, you've got those additional limits as well. So that's basic searching and multi-field search. Are there any questions, Jennifer, so far that you want me to go through?
No questions at all.
Okay, cool. So I'll hand over to Nicole now, and she's going to take you through the advanced search setting of Medline.
Thank you, Jess. I'll just share that screen. Has it come up?
Yeah, I can see
Great.
it.
Thank you. So as Jess said, this is the advanced search page. This is where you'll land when you first join into Medline. So we would recommend that this advanced search feature here is used if you're doing a more complex search, whether if you're conducting a maybe systematic scoping, a big literature review. It can do a little bit more complex things in the way it lays out its search that we'll go through today. So I'm going to use the same function here as Jess and use the diabetes as our search word. So you can see here, we're set on searching for a keyword. It does have the ability to say, I only want to look for an author, title, or journal. And that is if you know the exact title of an article. So it needs to be exact for you to use one of those functions. But today we're just going to have a look at the keyword. You'll notice here, one of the key advantages of this advanced search term is that it is automatically ticked here that we can map a term that we enter to a subject heading. So we are going to do diabetes again. If I just type this in and I'll just click on search. Medline or any of the Ovid ones will do its absolute best to try and find the closest match it can of a subject heading to the word you have typed in and list them for you. So as just said, the subject headings are entered by the database. So each database has kind of employs people, they look at articles and they actually manually assign these medical subject headings to articles based on the fact that that is what an article is about. So for this, on this page, we'll see a list of subject headings that are related to diabetes. You'll see here we have the options of explode, focus, and scope. So I'm going to start at this side and work our way back because I think that the scope note's probably one of the most important parts you'll see on this screen. So diabetes, for today we're going to go diabetes mellitus. Now what the scope note here does, if we click the eye, it tells us what that subject heading means. So if I just click on here, it will now tell us that this is the heading, this is the definition, and you'll see here it's got a note and other references you could use. So if you wanted complications, there is also another heading titled complications, and these are related. So it's always important to check this, especially if you're not quite sure which one you need. This is always your go-to to go, this is your definition, kind of like looking it up in a dictionary, I guess. Focus, you'll see down the bottom here, there under hints, it tells us what focus means, and that is this line here. So Focus is if you wish to limit your search to documents in which the subject heading is considered the major point of an article. So that means every article that appears will have to have diabetes mellitus as its main subject heading that has been indexed within that article. If you're undertaking a big review of any kind, we wouldn't really recommend you do that because it's going to narrow that search result down. You will see that becomes, this results become less. The other one is explode. So explode here says, is if you wish to receive results using the selected term and all of its major specific terms. So to see what its specific terms are, we come back across and we'll see that all of these subject headings are hyperlinked. If I click on the words diabetes mellitus, we'll open up a new screen. I just scroll down to where this is highlighted and it has a whole bunch of subheadings underneath it. Now on that other page, if I was to tick explode, my results will be all of the ones that have that as a subject heading, plus, plus all of these. So it's going to make our search really big. So it is important to come in and have a look at this. If you want to explode, or even just see what is available to you, if you explode, you can come in, check on these. Now, if I didn't want to know any of this stuff, I just wanted to generally do a search about diabetes mellitus, I wouldn't explode because I might not want to know this specific detail. But if you do want to make sure that you've got all of that specific detail in here, you can click explode. But just be mindful that it's going to make it add up to all of these numbers when you do so. I'm just going to click back. I just mentioned it's important that we do a mixture of subject headings and keywords. So you'll see that the bottom one, when we conduct searches in this advanced field, the bottom option will always say the term you've entered, search as .mp. I'll explain in that in a second, search as keywords. So we'll always tick that as well. I'm going to click continue at the top since I've decided what I want. And this will start building our search below. So similar to the others, it tells us what we've typed in and our results on the side here. And then everything becomes displayed underneath. So diabetes.mp, the MP stands for a multi-purpose search. Now a multi-purpose search searches title, abstract, finds that keyword within subject headings as well, and a variety of other fields within one of those records. That is the default for the advanced search feature. Anything that we enter where we've chosen a medical subject heading will appear with a slash at the end. So that is how you tell the difference. And again, Jess explained searching line by line. So what I'm going to do now is just enter a few extra terms and just show you how you could build that more complex search using this feature. So we're going to look at a few words that mean diabetes, and we're going to look at diabetes within the elderly. So we're going to make two groups, and that is, so we're just going to do, I might want to look at, so I'm going to type in diabetes mellitus as well, just to show you the difference. You'll notice that diabetes, the medical headings, we had quite a lot. But if I go really specific with my term, forgot the A. And it'll keep map turned to subject heading. You'll see it only gives me the one because it goes, hey, we've got an exact match for the title, the thing that you typed in. So I'm going to tick both of those boxes again and say continue. When we do diabetes, another common thing is non-insulin dependent. So you can actually do, there's an acronym for that. So non-insulin dependent diabetes mellitus. And I can go search. And it's found it here for me. It found diabetes type 2. And I just want to show you the scope note for this one, just to show you another feature that's handy to look at. So we just said, hey, we found diabetes type 2, and you can see here that it has found my little acronym I typed into, because it knows that type 2 is the non-insulin dependent variety. The other thing here is handy to note is that the year of entry. So from 2005, diabetes mellitus type 2 became its own medical subject heading. But prior to that, it was categorized as diabetes mellitus between 1966 and 1983. So it only became out on its own from 2005. So it's handy to know if you want to do a big backward search, and that becomes more evident in your in the next group we'll have a look at. So I'm going to tick both of those again and say continue. When I'm developing this search and I have my concepts grouped together, I'm going to say I want now all of these. These are all of my diabetes terms, and I want any article that contains any of those. So I'm going to combine them all with OR. And that enters me line 4, which is a combination of all of those. Next, I want to look at the elderly. So any elderly people that have diabetes. So I'm going to type elderly in and hit search. Now it tells me that the subject heading that I could use here is aged. And this is another one where it's handy to check the scope note, because aged could mean a variety of things. Now in this case, aged is a person that is 65 to 79. And it tells me that if I wanted anybody over the age of 80, I should look up this subject heading to make sure I capture that, because currently I'm only limiting it to the people of this age. The year of entry here, so this one was from 1966. And prior to that, the word geriatrics was used. So any article that's published in the 60s is going to be indexed with the word geriatric. So I could post this as well. I'm going to go back. I'm going to check both of those and say continue. Now I might want the geriatrics as well. So I will type that in because that's what it suggested for the capturing any older versions. Tick both of those and say continue. And if I want anybody that's over the age of 80, I'm going to type in aged so that it will try and find me the subject heading. Okay, so I've already included aged. As you build a search, if your subject heading in your groups, you only need to mention a subject heading once. Okay, so I don't need to tick aged again because I've already got it. So here I'm going to go aged 80 and over, and I'm going to continue ticking the last box, which is my keyword search. And go continue. Okay, so as just said, if you get over 4, you want to go and go expand on the side here. I'm going to make these a group of their own as well. And I'm going to combine them with OR. Now, it's a relatively basic search, so it's likely to bring us back a lot of articles. But to bring this all together now, I'm going to say, I want line 4 and line 8. And this groups our 2s together. So we're going to get any results that contain any of these words and any of these words. And we go, so we say tick them and say and, which is our last line here. And yes, you can see it's quite a lot. So one of the other benefits of going line by line is now that I've done this and gone, hey, this is a lot, I might want to add an extra concept to my search strategy. So to bring that search result down.
Excuse me, Nicole.
Yeah.
I have a question. I thought this might be a good time to interrupt. I've got a question from Roberta, and it's, can you please explain the include all subheadings and combine with or and that appears when we search for a term? And when we use these or change from default,
And
combine with or. So it's the subheadings that come up. I'm guessing she's talking about with the subheadings that come up when you tick a subject heading.
oh, yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Let's go back in. So I'll use the next bit as an example. So if I go in and go I maybe only want to know about the diabetes in the elderly that have gone to hospital. So this bit here at the top, include all subheadings. If I click on the word hospital, these are all of the subheadings here that relate to hospital. So if I tick all of them, I'll bring in all of this. Now I can choose to, the other thing you had there was combined with or and. I'm currently leaving them on or because of the way that the group, we're combining all of those like terms together currently. So they want to stay with an or. If you want to combine two different concepts together, that's when you'd use and. But for the purpose of building this kind of heading here, I would stick with or. If I say now that I don't want my keyword entered and I say continue, it'll actually prompt me here and say, here's a whole bunch of subject headings, here's a whole bunch of subheadings. Now, I don't often use this function when you're building a big search because it will bring that. It kind of makes it a little bit more focused and bring those search results down. But for some people, it can be useful. So I've said hospital. Now, maybe I only want to know about the ethics. You can by all means come in and use this function. So I only want to know about the ethics, or there's standards. You can tick whatever you like. So if I've got it on or, I'm going to get the combined with or, which is ethics or standards, and go continue. And you'll see here now what it's done is gone, I've got a new line here for hospitals, and these are my subheadings that I've told it to search for. So that's what that page has done. But if you do just want to keep it basic and keep that search broad in the first instance, you could do what we've been doing here between line 1 and 8. Does that help answer that question? I'll go with this. Cool.
I have got a response from Roberta, but I'm assuming it has.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, yes, thanks, she says, yes.
Okay, no worries, that's okay. So because I've said that now my diabetes and geriatrics is quite big, I'll go hospital. Okay. I think I spelled it wrong. Forgot the P. Okay, so it's got hospitals, and I'll say, yes, I still want my keyword as well. Okay, and maybe we only want to know about their care within the hospital system. Okay, so there's also hospitalisation. So again, you would probably come in and just check that scope side to see what that means. And it does mean that someone has been confinement of a patient to a hospital. So that suits what we're after to here. And maybe I want to know about their emergency care. You can tick as many that will apply to you as you build these sections. Okay. So I've added this group. So I'm going to again combine my hospital terms with or. And now I just want to see whether adding that extra group of words has bring my search down. So I'll go combine all of my sets there with and. Okay, and it has brought it down a lot. But you can see, just mentioned the limits before, you can see that within the advanced search, they're automatically dropped down. What happens here is, so we've got line 12, that's our end result. What I can do now is say I only maybe want the English language and maybe I only want to know what's happened since 2017 until now. The same things are in your additional limits. It's the same throughout, no matter which field search you're in. So like Seth just mentioned, do use it with some of these areas with caution. But that is there. You've got a few things in here where you've got gender or as well. Now, because I've clicked on that, the limit button is down the bottom. I need to move that. And if I say limit a search now, you'll see that Medline automatically applies it to your last line. So it has gone, I want to limit line 12, which was this number, and only show me articles that are in English published from 2017, and that's brought me down to 8,000. Okay. And then now again, our results are displayed below, and you'll see as you look through records, you'll see again it's highlighted anything we've entered in yellow. We mentioned before the MP and the TIs, everything else. So I mentioned MP is the default. The multi-purpose search is the default. As you become more familiar with the database, as just mentioned, there is other fields that you can look at doing. Now, these are listed here. If we go into search fields, you can see here that, look, this is everything and all of their little acronyms. So if you were developing a search and went, oh, what was MP? You can come in here and you'll see it listed, and it will say multi-purpose, and each of them has a little eye where you can see the indexed terms for it. The other ones that are most common is you can look for abstracts. So that's you could simply, if you were very familiar with this database and you knew exactly what you wanted, you could actually edit and type A, B as just did in those other page. So if I was to come back here, I could be typing in diet. So pretty much forcing it where to go. And I would go to A, B dot and say search. So that line there is going to find me diabetes where it is mentioned in an abstract only. I open that up and there you go, you've found it here. So it is something you can do in building a complex search, but if you're just starting out or trying to capture as much research as possible, we would probably stick with this MP to begin with. So next part is I'm really happy with this search and I want to save it so I can come back and I've got 8,000 articles. I can't read them all today. I'll come back and have a look at it another time. I can go save all. Now, this is a database where you'd need to create an account yourself. So if you have not already done so, it is this bit on the side. You just go create an account. A couple of things to note on this page. Personal account name doesn't like a space, so make sure it's just one word. The password field tells you here it's between 6 and 20 characters long and can only be alphanumeric, so only letters or numbers and no special characters. And hopefully that makes it easier to remember because it's likely one of the only passwords you get to make these days with no special character. Now I will just log in. Okay, so remembering I clicked on save all, it's going to automatically launch me to the save function for my search. You've got here search name. So make it relevant to you and so that you can come back and find this search, because that account that we have made today is the account you will use for all Ovid databases. So remembering that just said it encompasses their whole list that we saw earlier. So it is going to be handy for you to put into this saved search title or the comment field which database you used to run that search in, because all of your searches will save no matter which database you have the one login and they will all save within this list. So today I will just call this diabetes aged. Oh, is it going to move? We'll just call it diabetes in hospital. Okay. And I'm going to pop in the comments field here that I did this search in Medline, and I've done it on the 12th of the 10th, 21. This is putting the date in is quite handy, because if you have to come back, as we said, if you've done a complex search, there's going to be times where maybe you need to rerun it to capture anything that's been published since you ran this original search, or you just need to remember that I've run it on this day. So obviously your results are only going to be up until today. So it's handy to put that in. Okay, the types you have here are permanent, or you have temporary. So that's what it says. If you only want to save this search for 24 hours, you've got permanent, and you can set it up as an auto alert as well. I'm going to leave it on permanent for today, and I'll say save. Okay, we'll see at the top here, it says it has saved, search history saved as diabetes hospital. To get this again, so you could log out and you want to come back another day and have a look, you would log back in. So you can click my account up here, log in. All of your searches are then saved within this function here called My Workspace. And then we go to My Searches and Alerts. And this is a list of everything we've saved. And today we called it diabetes and the hospital. So it's just here. If we went to rerun it, so bear in mind, if you'd logged out, gone away and come back another day, you'd come back in here, tick the box and click run. And it'll tell me it's executing. Now, because I haven't logged out and come back in again, it's just popped it on the bottom. So I'd go out and come back in so that you'd see it for fresh. But what it's done for me here is it's just rerun it again at the bottom, and it'll be the same as above. But if you, as I mentioned, if you log out and come back in, you won't get this duplication at the bottom. The last thing I will show you is similar to where we started with just how you said that the Ovid databases contains multiple databases. So I've currently logged in and I've gone straight to Medline. If I want to now go and run some searches in another one, instead of going back to the library A to Z list, you can actually flick between Ovid databases from here. So it says one resource selected, and it tells me here that I'm currently in Ovid. I can say change. And I could probably say I want to go to Embase now. Now you do have the options here, OK and run search. We really wouldn't, because I've added in this advanced search, I've added in subject headings. Even though all of these databases are in Ovid, they're all different databases, which means they may apply different subject headings to mean the same thing. So maybe, so just for example, I don't know that this is the right one, but aged in this database, it told us aged was 69, or was it to 80? And they had a different category for those aged 80 and over. We won't know unless we search Embase whether Embase actually does the same thing. So by running the search, it just takes everything we've entered and pops it into Embase. If Embase cannot recognize the subject heading that Medline used, it will just, I believe it will just ignore that function, and you won't, it probably won't tell you that that wasn't right, suggest another one. It just runs it and goes, I don't recognize that word, I'll just keep going. So instead, what you'd want to do is go, I wanted to go to Embase now and say, OK. And you'll be then loaded with the same screen. And you would do that same process again to build your search in here. and it'll look exact. All of the databases do look very similar. So I just type in aged and say search, and you'll see again it does present me with the list. We'll check whether that was the same. So aged, used for animals and that are over greater than 64 years. So there you go. That has actually been different than what the other one was. So there's an example of why you'd want to check that across each of those databases. And you can do the same thing. So it now tells us here I'm on one resource. I'm now in Embase. I can go, I've had enough here and go, I want to go back to Medline. You can just come back and tick the box. Okay, but you can see the platform stays the same, which is why the My Workspace bit stays the same as well. So you'd want to, that's why it's important that we've added in those database names to our Save Search feature. That is about all. So was there any extra questions there?
Yes, there's a question from Natasha. I hope that's how you pronounce it. It says, the question is, can you load a search from a previous database, but then amend it so you don't need to start from scratch?
It's just that if you reload it, but like the benefit of doing it from scratch that we just looked at there was if if I had that search open and had the rerun, you can see it just loads it as it is that I looked at before. If I open Embase, but unless I type in each word individually, as in start, kind of do it from scratch, I won't get this option to go through and choose those subject headings. So I would probably recommend doing it from scratch. You can just copy and paste your keywords so that you then know, because so as you run a search across multiple databases, especially if you're doing some kind of review, you want to stick with the same keywords across the lot so that you're getting consistency in your search results. So you'd saved your search in Medline, I'd copy and paste your keywords over and let the database do its thing and select your subject headings. So it can take a little bit longer to do, but it ensures you're getting the correct results and getting the best use out of that database that you can. That's okay, not a problem.
Yes, she says, great, thanks.
Awesome. Thank you, Nicole.
That's okay.
I don't know if while you've just got your screen up, if you just want to just go back to the library page. So if you ever need any help or assistance, there are a couple of ways that you can reach out to us. On the library page, there's a chat function. So if you just have some quick questions, by all means, pop a question in the chat in that Ask the Library section. If you kind of want to run through something a little bit more complicated, you need to set aside some time for that. If you're an undergrad student, you can book a librarian. So you book a librarian session for half an hour. That's that button there in the Learn box. If you're a postgrad student, you can reach out directly to your research liaison librarians. So that's located in Researcher Support. There's a link for the research liaison librarians, and you just find the school that relates to your field of study, and it will have the contact details of the appropriate librarian to talk to. Oh, that's me. So yeah, you can just send me an email and we can set up an appointment. But that's it. I hope that was helpful for everyone. We do have one final poll to run. Thanks, Ben. So yeah, if you could just answer those two questions, that would be great, just to give us a bit of information. And thank you so much for joining today.
Terrific. Thank you.
The recording will be sent to you after this session. No worries.
Perfect. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.